welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're focusing on just one story, the raising of Lazarus from John chapter 11.
Yeah, it's a really well-known one, but we're digging into it using a pretty deep theological commentary as our source.
Right, but the goal isn't just theology. We want to pull out insights from this single narrative that actually map onto, modern life. Things like information overload, logic traps.
Exactly. The source treats the story almost like an allegory for two ways of thinking. There's the human logic, the sort of rational cause and effect thing it calls law.
Okay.
And then there's this other mode, divine action, which it calls grace or revelation. The commentary analyzes how all the characters embody these mindsets.
So our mission really is to use this ancient story as a kind of roadmap for understanding how we think, how we get stuck, and maybe how we limit ourselves when facing, huge challenges. Career stuff, personal life.
Absolutely. And the commentary suggests we play all these parts at different times. Lazarus is the big, overwhelming problem. Maybe it's a job situation, a relationship that feels dead, serious debt.
Mm-hmm.
Mary is that purely emotional reaction we have. Martha, she's the rational one, the expert, maybe even the theologian in us, but she has limits.
And the disciples are us when we're confused, just following along.
Yeah, kind of bewildered. And Jesus represents the disruptive force, the thing that breaks the pattern.
Okay, let's dive in. Section 1 starts with the problem of the why. That seems pretty fundamental. When something bad happens, a setback, a loss, what's the first thing we do?
Instinctively, we ask why. Right. Why me? Why now? Whose fault is this? We immediately try to trace the cause, find the origin.
Because we think if we find the cause,
we can fix it, logically. If I know why the project failed, I can prevent it next time.
Hold on, though. Isn't that just good problem solving? Like root cause analysis.
Yeah.
If my business isn't working, I need to know why, don't I?
Rationally, yes, it feels completely logical. But the source argues this relentless focus on the why can actually be a trap. It calls it self-righteous, even futile.
Futile? How so?
Well, think about the example the source uses the disciples seeing the man born blind. Their first question wasn't about helping him. It was, whose sin caused this, his or his parents? They're stuck in that law framework blame, cause, judgment.
Ah, I see. And if you keep tracing the why back far enough, where do you end up?
Right back at the beginning, essentially. Original sin, the knowledge of good and evil. You can analyze your own failures forever, dissecting every mistake, but the source implies that analysis alone doesn't provide the solution for fundamental human weakness.
You just get stuck analyzing. Yeah. Analysis paralysis, spending all your energy figuring out why you failed instead of moving forward.
Precisely. And this is where the narrative introduces what our source calls the divine reframe. It's a total shift. Jesus hears Lazarus is sick, and his response isn't about the cause at all.
Right. He says, this sickness will not end in death, but is for God's glory. It's about the purpose, not the origin.
Exactly. The source really hammers this point. The purpose of a problem from this perspective isn't to highlight our flaws, we know those. It's to create a space, an opportunity to reveal the glory of the solution provider, the forgiver, the healer, the provider.
Okay, let's make that practical. What does glory mean in, say, a major career screw-up? How did that mindset work?
It's a radical flip. Instead of the failure just being failure, it becomes the very stage for showing something greater. Your weakness highlights the power of forgiveness. Your financial lack reveals the potential for provision, for turning scarcity into abundance.
You stop obsessing over the problem itself.
Yes. You shift focus from the deficit to the potential for demonstration. The source suggests God's focus isn't on our problem, but on his capacity to give, to provide, to demonstrate power over the problem.
That feels like a really crucial shift. Okay, so that brings us to section 2, the logic barrier. Because the story gets, frankly, a bit weird here with the delay.
It does seem odd, doesn't it? Jesus apparently loved Lazarus, but he waits 2 days. He makes sure Lazarus has been dead 4 days.
Why? That seems cruel, almost.
The source argues the delay is absolutely critical because we humans, we tend to limit what's possible based on our rational expectations. Time limits, biological limits.
Ah, okay. So if Jesus had rushed there on day 1 or 2...
people might have just said, wow, lucky recovery, or great timing with that medicine. They'd find a rational explanation, waiting 4 days. When the body's already decomposing, the text mentions the stench later.
Right. Makes it undeniable. Completely outside normal possibilities.
Exactly. The problem has to become rationally impossible. The commentary suggests a paradox here. We only truly surrender a problem when our logic is completely overwhelmed. Small problems, we tinker. huge, impossible problems. We finally give up trying to control it.
So weirdly, the bigger the impossibility, the easier it is for this grace to act, because our logical resistance is finally gone. We've run out of our own solutions.
That's the idea presented, yeah. We stop arguing with reality. And while this delay is happening, remember, the disciples are having their own crisis.
Oh, right. They don't want to go back to Judea because the last time
They nearly got stoned, which the source interprets symbolically. The stoning represents the attack of the law, of rigid religion, or judgment when you try to bring a message of freedom.
So trying to free people from performance-based systems, whether it's strict religious rules or even a cutthroat corporate culture, you should expect pushback, condemnation.
According to this interpretation, yes, the law defends itself.
So if you're facing that kind of condemnation, that stoning, or you feel trapped defending yourself, what's the answer Jesus gives?
He talks about walking in the light to avoid stumbling. The source frames it like this. Walking in the night is relying on yourself, your own performance, your ability to argue your case perfectly. That's the law trap.
Like trying to debate an accuser on their terms, or justifying every single past action.
Exactly. You're using your own light, your own reasoning, and you'll inevitably stumble because, well, nobody's perfect. You can't win that game.
Okay, so walking in the light means living in that grace mindset, believing you're covered despite imperfections.
That's the idea. If your mind operates in that domain of forgiveness, then the whole script flips. Mistakes aren't fatal. Weaknesses become opportunities to show grace.
So you can boast in weakness, as Paul says.
Precisely. Victory over that feeling of condemnation doesn't come from proving you were right. It comes from accepting forgiveness. The issue isn't if you mess up, it's where your mind is living law or grace.
That leads right into section 3, the purpose of the miracle. Jesus actually says he's glad he wasn't there earlier.
Yeah, I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. That's huge.
It means the main problem wasn't actually Lazarus being dead.
No. The central issue, from Jesus' perspective in this narrative, was the disciples' lack of belief, their limited understanding.
Wow. We focus so much on the external problem, the sickness, the death. But the focus here is internal, on the observers.
It seems so. And the source points out how often we do the opposite. We approach faith like, okay, God, fix this specific problem for me, my finances, my health, then I'll believe.
That's making the solution the goal, isn't it? Not the relationship or the deeper understanding.
Exactly. The source calls it the idolatry of problem solving. We make an idol out of the fix itself. We're obsessed with Lazarus, but God is looking at Mary, Martha, the disciples, at us.
And this ties back to the logic thing. If God's actions always fit neatly into our expectations.
He explained it away. If I pray for a promotion and get a tiny raise, I think, oh, well, my boss must have noticed my hard work finally. We find a rational cause. We don't need faith if it all makes logical sense.
So, true belief, the kind that transforms, is built when things happen outside our logic, when the impossible occurs.
That's the argument. Resurrection from 4 days dead is logically impossible. Therefore, it requires faith. It bypasses our rational defenses.
You see the disciples struggling with this, though. Like Thomas. When Jesus says they're going back, Thomas just goes straight to the worst-case scenario.
Let us also go, that we may die with him. Yeah. It's that literalist black and white thinking.
All or nothing. If we go back, we die. End of story.
It's the mindset that misses the nuance, the possibility of something completely unexpected, something beyond the strict letter of the law logic. It can't compute resurrection, only risk.
Okay, section 4 brings us face to face with Martha and Mary and this blockade of reason. Lazarus is stinking, 4 days dead. The source uses this to symbolize what? Humanity's state.
Yeah, kind of humanity under the law before Christ. Seen as hopelessly corrupt, beyond saving by its own efforts, dead in trespasses and sins, you might say.
And Martha meets Jesus. She's the smart one, the theologian. But her statement is key, isn't it?
Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. It perfectly sums up that limited logical expectation.
She believes God has power, right? Power to prevent death, maybe heal sickness.
Oh, absolutely. She knows doctrine. She believes in God and power. But the commentary argues she lacks a deep understanding of God's love, specifically the kind expressed through sacrifice and resurrection power.
So she thinks God could have fixed it, but maybe didn't want to, or maybe they didn't qualify. Like, we must have done something wrong for this to happen.
It seems that way. She's applying a kind of performance standard even to God's intervention. She believes in prevention, but not reversal from utter ruin.
And this is where Jesus weeps. The commentary's take on this is powerful. It's not just sadness about death.
No, it suggests the deeper sorrow is over the limitation they're placing on him, the barrier, their own reason. They believe in healing, but they just cannot conceive of resurrection.
They're afraid of death. They want God to stop bad things from happening.
Right. Keep this man from dying. But the source argues God's nature isn't just prevention, it's conquest, demonstrating power over death itself. That gap in their understanding, that logical wall, that's the tragedy Jesus weeps over, according to this view.
Which leads us perfectly to the climax in section 5, removing the stone. Jesus gets to the tomb, and there's this big stone blocking the entrance.
The physical symbol of the final obstacle. The commentary explicitly links this stone to the law, yes, but also more broadly to that human logic, that rational barrier that says, no, this is impossible. Dead is dead.
It's the concrete fact that locks us into our limited view.
Exactly. And what's Jesus's command? It's not stone disappear.
No. He tells the people watching,
take away the stone. It's an instruction to them, to the observers. They have to participate in removing the barrier.
Wow. So the solution to this helplessness, this unbelief, requires human action. We have to choose to remove the limitation.
That's the interpretation. We have to actively dismantle the logical objections that prevent us from believing in resurrection, in total reversal.
But Martha, ever the rationalist, protests one last time.
Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days. It's the final appeal to reason, to empirical evidence. It's too late. It's gone too far. Ruin is complete.
Her logic just cannot accept reversal after absolute failure.
And the source connects this back to the law, having curses and punishments, a heavy, immovable weight. Jesus, through sacrifice, is seen as fulfilling both sides, taking the curse, the heavy stone, upon himself, but we still have to roll away the stone of our unbelief in that fulfillment.
Okay, so the stone gets rolled away, and Lazarus comes out. Alive, but
he's still wrapped up, head to foot in grave clothes, face covered with a cloth. This is such a crucial image.
Why? What does that symbolize for us, the learners?
It represents the person who has been saved, resurrected by grace. Maybe they've had a profound spiritual experience, but their mind is still bound by the old ways of thinking, the law.
So spiritually alive, but mentally still operating under condemnation, fear. Rules, performance anxiety.
Exactly. They're alive, but they're shuffling around like a mummy, metaphorically speaking, still bound by do not handle, do not taste, do not touch, all the self-imposed regulations and fears. They haven't grasped the totality of their freedom.
They're saved, but not yet. Free. Walking in fear, needing perfection, afraid to take risks because they still feel judged.
Yes. And that brings us to the very last step. The final command from Jesus, again, directed to the observers.
Unbind him and let him go.
That's the practical application of grace. It's the active dismantling of those remaining mental bonds, those grave clothes of fear and self-condemnation. It's realizing you're truly free to run, not just stumble around wrapped in old limitations.
Wow. Okay, that was quite a journey through just one chapter. We've basically traced this path from asking, why did this happen? The law logic approach.
To embracing what glory can be revealed here, the grace resurrection mindset. It's a fundamental shift.
And the key step, the really actionable part, seems to be that decision to remove the stone, to consciously let go of the logical limitations we place on what's possible after failure or ruin.
According to the source, yes, that's the prerequisite.
Yeah.
We have to participate in removing our own mental barriers.
And realizing, crucially, that the story wasn't ultimately about saving Lazarus from death. It was about transforming the belief of everyone watching Mary, Martha, the disciples, you and me.
The miracle was for their sakes, so they might believe. Which shifts our role, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, the call then isn't just to identify with Lazarus, the one needing rescue from the big problem. It's maybe to start embodying the attitude of Jesus, the one who speaks life and sets others free.
So when we encounter that rational opposition, that unbelief, maybe in others or even in ourselves, the job isn't necessarily to win a logical debate.
Not according to this view. It's more about declaring the possibility of faith, the power of the Spirit, like Jesus did, saying, essentially, I know God hears, and then acting on that belief, commanding freedom.
Which leaves us with a final thought then. Based on this deep dive, what specific grave clothes, those lingering fears, perfectionism, self-imposed rules, old condemning thoughts, what needs unbinding in your life or maybe in the lives of those around you?
The command is pretty direct, isn't it? Unbind him and let him go. What does letting go look like today?